everyone, welcome to In My Shoes Special Needs Parenting channel. So this month is World Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, and in respect to that I'm going to educate you a bit more about cerebral palsy so that you are more aware. So CP, cerebral palsy, is a collection of disorders caused by abnormal brain development or damage to the brain during the labor process or early in life. It affects how a child moves and also their motor control. So there are different types of cerebral palsy depending on the part of the brain that was affected. So we have spastic cerebral palsy, which is characterized by tightness of muscles. And then we have dyskinetic cerebral palsy, which is characterized by involuntary movements. And then we have ataxic cerebral palsy, which is characterized by shaky movements or lack of balance. Then we also have children who have a mixed type of cerebral palsy, which means they have a combination of the earlier three that I've mentioned. Depending on the type, there are also different parts of the body that are affected by the damage to the brain. So we have children who have diplegic cerebral palsy, which means two legs and probably an arm are affected. And then we have hemiplegic cerebral palsy, which means one side of the body, one hand and one leg, is affected. Then we have quadriplegic cerebral palsy, which means all four limbs, both hands, both legs, were affected. So for those who remember, in my first video I said that Nathan has spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy. So to unbox that, that means he has tightness of muscles that has affected all four limbs. So that's how we say, when you're asked what type of CP does your child have, we mention both of them at the same time. So it's spastic quadriplegic type of cerebral palsy. So some symptoms of cerebral palsy are, in the earlier days, it's usually very hard to determine because all children are basically the same. And then, but for our case, because we had a delayed cry, we knew that there was something up. So some of the symptoms we noticed were he wasn't able to suckle, so that he wasn't able to do that. So that showed lack of or poor muscle control for the mouth. Of course, as he progressed, he missed some of his milestones. So if you note that your child or the neighbor's child is missing some of their milestones, advise them to go and see a doctor so that they're able to be told what is. It could probably just they're having delayed milestone achievement, but it's good to rule out that they don't have CP as well. For us, of course, it progressed to his head didn't hold, he wasn't walking, he wasn't talking. So for us, from a very early age, we knew that he had cerebral palsy. About 4 months, that's when it was confirmed. So some of the causes of cerebral palsy are infections. Infections such as meningitis can cause cerebral palsy. Actually, causes are anything that affects the brain and may cause damage to the brain could be a reason for cerebral palsy. So injury to the brain, either by falling down or probably during the labor process there was some squishing of the head. That's so graphic, but injury to the brain, essentially, as long as the brain is damaged, it can cause cerebral palsy in children. We have the delayed cry. Delayed cry is because oxygen didn't go to the brain, and if oxygen didn't go to the brain, then that part of the brain is affected and it can cause damage, which leads to cerebral palsy. So asphyxia as well can cause cerebral palsy. Asphyxia means lack of oxygen to the brain. So points to note there, disclaimer, don't leave your child in the car without the windows open, because if they lack oxygen, it can cause brain to be injured, and then which could lead to cerebral palsy. Yeah. Epilepsy is also a known cause for cerebral palsy. Children who are born prematurely or have a low birth weight are also at risk. At risk being the key word of cerebral palsy. Doesn't mean they're going to get it, but they're at risk of cerebral palsy. Yeah. So some facts that I'd like to share about cerebral palsy are: it's the most common childhood disability in the world. And then it has no cure yet, being my very, very key word. It's permanent, but it doesn't progress. So the part of the brain that was affected doesn't get worse. It just doesn't heal, but it doesn't progress, doesn't get worse. Yeah. So, and then early intervention helps the child with, like, it can move the child from 0 to 10 if you notice it early and you do the required therapies. I'll mention them. CP is also a very costly affair. According to some research I've done, it's actually 3 times more expensive to raise a special needs child compared to raising a regular child. Yeah. So it's a costly affair. It requires a multidisciplinary approach in order to treat it. So we have the occupational therapists coming in, we have the speech therapist, we have the neurologist, we have the psychologist coming in, then we have counselors for the parents, because as much as it's multidisciplinary, it's also family centered, because when the child is sick, the entire family is affected, because you have to adjust yourselves accordingly so that you're able to take care of the child well. Yeah. Some non-associated problems that are as a result of cerebral palsy are: the child is unable to walk, or the child is unable to talk. Most of them do experience some level of pain. Then we have children who have epilepsy, which means seizures. They have some seizures of sorts. And then we have children who have lack of bladder control, so they're mostly in their diapers most of the time. And then some, the vision is affected, so they're not able to see. Some are not able to hear, and it goes on. Remember, depending on the part of the brain that was affected, they're as different as it comes. Like, one child with CP and another one who has CP can be the same, because no one is affected at the same exact particular spot of the brain and then in the same exact way. So they're all different, like they're all as unique as they come. Yeah. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, message me, WhatsApp me. My contacts should be there. Also research about cerebral palsy this month, and pick any day and wear green. Green, the lime green, the really nice lime green is the CP color, so you can wear a green ribbon or some green shirt or anything green to mark this month. Yeah. So bye.